High summer upon us. The weather is not disappointing if you like it hot and dry for agricultural purposes. The hot summer is turning into very much a hot summer in the northern plains and upper Midwest and even across the Corn Belt. A little less so in the eastern Corn Belt. Lots of areas are being a little bit warmer than average. Southern plains and the southwest is where the searing heat has been. But because it's been warmer than average, we're starting to see dry conditions pop up, and that dryness is likely to increase in aerial coverage. It's not quite to say that we're headed into drought specifically, but just short-term moisture shortage. The next few weeks are going to be tough. When it's this hot and it's kind of dry, you have a problem. Here's the last 30 days of rainfall, percent of normal. Percent of average is really maybe a better way of saying it. And when you see these blue shades and purples, that's where rainfall since the middle of June has been running about 200% or about double of normal. So it's fairly wet out in Montana, southwestern North Dakota, green fields, it's beautiful. But wherever you get into the yellows and the reds, which is a large part of the upper Midwest, northern plains, eastern North Dakota, much of Minnesota, a lot of Nebraska down through Iowa, and even patches of the Corn Belt, especially down in Indiana and northwest Illinois, it's getting pretty dry. In some of these places we've seen a quarter to a lot of places about half of average rainfall. So things are getting pretty dry. And with that in place, this hot weather that we have, it's not helping. So crop stress is going to be an issue over the next couple of weeks. Warm to hot conditions all up into the northern plains. There are going to be some days where you're going to see temperatures getting up well into the 90s early this week into North Dakota. I think the heat will, back off a little bit in the far north, but generally speaking, it's going to be considerably warmer than average. There will be a lot of days down here in the central plains where temperatures are at or above 100 degrees like it's been being. I don't see it getting remarkably worse, but it will continue to be this week very hot summer. Here in the northern plains, we will see, I think, by the weekend, some relaxation. You're going to see, instead of being mostly upper 80s and 90s, you might see it briefly drop back into more consistent 80s for a while as we're looking at the second week, which would be the last week of July. But I don't really anticipate the hot weather really abating that much. Lots of days in the 90s in the Dakotas and not much rainfall. The areas of the U.S. getting rain will be the eastern seaboard. Southern Canada will continue to be wetter than average. Monsoonal rains in the southwestern mountains, but a lot of the Great Plains region will be fairly dry over the next 2 weeks. And with the warm temperatures, there is no way that will be able to keep up with evaporation rates, so the dry get a little drier.